Word poet, and there's lots of videos of him on the internet. He probably doesn't want you to see them because he was telling me earlier that he finds them really cringy. But you know, please give a really warm welcome to Remi Kanazi. And just one shout out: he's at the end. There's a book signing, right? Yeah. So his book is called Before the Next Bomb Drops. His book of his poetry. So if any of you are interested, hang around. Then he'll sign you a book. But Remi Kanazi.
Hey, I'm way taller than this. Okay, bye. Time check. What time is it? It's 8:40. What is that buzzing?
Lights.
So lights. Okay, fine. I guess we need lights. Hey, how's everyone going? How's everyone doing? Hi. Wave. Are you having a good time? Clap your hands. Yay. I want to thank everyone for coming out and not going to see a movie about like werewolves. I don't know what the kids are into this day. I want to thank, what is it? It's Friends of, who are the organizing groups that are here? Friends of Berlin? Yeah? Hi.
Palestine.
It's Friends of Palestine, but then, okay. Listen, I'm going to do, does everybody know who I am? Okay, not everybody. I'm a Palestinian American poet. I grew up in a small town in western Massachusetts. There were about 9,000 people in that town. 8,990 of them were white. Then there was my brown family. We got like another brown family in the 8th grade. It was really awkward and racist. It fueled a lot of angry poetry. I'm not going to do so many of those tonight because that's from the previous book. So now we're going to like shit on the British government, the US government, the Israeli state, and against oppression generally. Is that okay? Okay. I'm jet lagged and I quit coffee last week. It's really weird. So if you like something, you can snap your fingers. You can clap your hands. Please don't throw anything. I'm fragile. I'm a poet. I will bruise easily. I'm going to start off with, I think, what is like a sad poem, and then maybe I'll do like an angry poem, then the closest thing that I have to a funny poem, then a really angry poem, then a super angry poem, then a holy shit, I can't believe you just said that in public poem, and then we will hug, we'll wave, we'll Star Trek wave, whatever you're into, and then we can sell some books in the back. So it's really, really nice to be back in England. This is my first time since 2012. It's a very nice place, minus the food, and the weather, your plumbing system, hot and cold, fucking merge the two. Colonialism, the Balfour Declaration. Okay, the list goes on. But it is beautiful to be back in Liverpool because I think we have a lot of anti-racist, anti-fascist, awesome people in the audience. I am not a comedian. I think I'm funny, but I'm not, so please laugh along to my jokes. I won't do the poems this fast. I hope you enjoy it. This is just to warm you up, to warm me up, and then it's like, yay, oppression is bad. We should stand against it. Okay, so. I am the son and grandson of Palestinian refugees. My mother's side is from Jaffa, my father's side is from Haifa and Nazareth. Both sides were kicked out or fled in 1948. And for anybody that doesn't know what happened from 1947 to 1949, 750,000 Palestinians were ethnically cleansed from their land, 531 villages were destroyed. We call it the Nakba, or the catastrophe. But it's important that when we talk about the ethnic cleansing of Palestine, that it's not something that's put within a time capsule. It's something that extends into today. Waves of ethnic cleansing have taken place throughout, and those refugees who were forcefully dispossessed aren't allowed to return to their lands. You also have internally displaced refugees that are inside of the undefined borders of the state of Israel who are relegated to second-class status. You have millions of people living under military occupation, and nice little British society, thank you for the Balfour Declaration, the British Mandate, and all of the lovely support that you've given to Israel since. Yeah, so screw you, David Cameron. And Labour Party and Blairites and everybody down the block. But this is called Refugee, and I thought I would start with this one. I think it's been a theme. And obviously this isn't an issue that unfortunately just relates to Palestine, whether we're talking about Iraq, whether we're talking about Syria, whether we're talking about Eritrea, whether we're talking about the Sudan, whether we're talking about so many other places. The way in which refugees have been treated throughout history is absolutely disgusting, and I think a lot of other folks spoke beautifully and eloquently on it before. This piece is about a Palestinian father who was ethnically cleansed when he was a child, and the experience of his daughter who's living under occupation, who's never been back to where her father was ethnically cleansed from. I have like like 2 good YouTube videos. I'm just like, normalize this as that. The rest, that's crap. I didn't sign off on that. You want to sit down? I'll let you. Very settler of you. I'm just kidding. The seats were open, obviously, different than Palestine. Just kidding. You look brown, okay. Cool. Wait, sad poem. She's never seen the sea. Sunlight imprinted her father's skin, waves crashing at his feet, smile tattooed underneath boyish grin. Snapping pictures with closing eyelids. Her father's face, flush on recollection, the same waves that had clenched like an angry jaw as his mother pushed him forward like a train car. Watch his neighbor drown, tears streaming, eyes connecting, screams muffled as inhalation suffocated lungs, muscles weary, skin pruning. He was barely a boy, knowing he'd never return. His neighbor, an older man, born in Akka, looked dapper at dinner parties, looked helpless that day. His body revolting against death, a pool intent on swallowing him, so many stroking to get on boats departing. Who'd have known this gulf would have been their deathbed? She has been beaten, ID checked, body thrown to the ground, fists and feet pummeled, tender flesh, shoulder broken, heart too many times. Tear gas inscribed on her lungs. She wrote back on her breath that the canister's defeat is near. These fields are ours, she told me, before the Europeans and Brooklynites, before the swimming pools, army jeeps, and barbed wires, before the talks, roadmaps, and Swiss cheese plans, before declarations rewrote history, those hills meant footprints, and that can't be erased. Like village massacres can't be erased. Like broken bones policies can't be erased. Like the screams ringing in our father's ears can't be erased. We are the boat returning to dock. We are the footprints on the northern trail. We are the iron coloring the soil. We cannot be erased. That is like literally the happiest poem I'm going to do tonight. It's all emotionally downhill from here. So listen, don't just stare at me for like a solid hour. Like I said, you can move around a little bit, you can clap your hands, you can snap your fingers. I mean, that's not really a snap your finger kind of poem. Because if you stare at me for like an hour and you're like, and then you come up to me hours, you're like, oh my god, can you sign my book? I thought your show was really great. I was like, really, British person? I couldn't fucking tell. You stared at me straight for an hour. Okay, so here's the thing, I'm Palestinian. There's a lot of oppression around the world, and that is terrible. So it's gonna lead into this next poem. It's called Nothing to Worry About. Now, I was having a conversation with someone about the war in Iraq, and like 1 million dead people, 5.5 million refugees, shock and all the terrible things that the US had done to Iraq. And his response was like, nah, the world is a messed up place. And I was like, that's weird. You're a terrible human being, and I'm gonna write a poem about you. You don't want to say something like silly or racist to a poet, because there's like a 38% chance. That's like 38% of the book is because like someone's like, brown people are like so angry. I was like, you're a fucking racist. I'm gonna go write a poem about you. Okay. Good thing there's no children, I swear a lot. So here's the thing, I live in New York City. Now, in New York City, over 5 million people under Michael Bloomberg were stopped and frisked. We have 2.3 million people in jail and prison. We have racist drug laws and mandatory minimums. 2 million people, 2 million undocumented people kicked out under Barack Obama. So in the same breath that we're saying boycott, divestment, and sanctions, we have to be saying boycott from prisons and mass incarceration. And the same breath that we're saying not one more bomb dropped on Gaza, we have to be saying not another black person killed in Chicago. So whether we're talking about the drone bombing of Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia, or occupation, apartheid in Palestine, or transphobia and gender violence in our local communities, what binds socially conscious people people together is working against systems of oppression. And one of the most beautiful things that I've seen on Palestine organizing over the last 3 and 4 years is that it's got more coalition building, it's got more intersectional, and we're all not perfect, we're all works in progress, but if we don't come together to fight against those systems of oppression, because it really is going forward with that idea is that the Palestinian people aren't special, it's to say that no people should be ethnically cleansed, no people should live under occupation, no people should see their villages bombed. So it's really beautiful with all of the oppression that's going on within Palestine on US streets to see so many people rising up. So thank you so much for everyone that came out, that organized, that read tonight, that sat in the audience. We're all part of the process. So love and thank you. I swear, no more 20-minute intros to poems. First line, I got it. The world is a messed up place. Rolled off your tongue like an arrogant excuse. It's easy to say that when drone strikes aren't leveling your block in Brooklyn. When stop and frisk isn't haunting your every move. When your baby's blood-splattered body isn't plastered onto your Park Slope Avenue. Black men make up 40% of the US prison population. Nearly half for drugs, white men abuse at a higher rate. Drunk driving kills more than crack, but DUIs don't attract 5-year sentences. Don't see Jim Crow signage in courtyards, but the same structures still shackle the ankles of black inmates. The US spends $2.1 million a year to put a soldier in Afghanistan. $35,000 to lock a black kid up with racist laws, less than half of that on education, and only $15,000 on a minimum wage job. Pundits pontificate on the colorblind era we live in, where race gets thrown out of the class struggle and intersecting systems of oppression gets no airtime. The world, it's a messed up place. And you seem to be profiting nicely. Noise-canceling headphones blocking out ambulance and police sirens in the faint distance. A Palestinian kid was shot in the back. The bullet, subsidized by your tax dollars. The guy who used to deliver your weed was just sentenced to 8 years in prison with no priors. The drone buzzing, it'll be heard one day over Brooklyn, but it'll skip your gentrified neighborhood. You have nothing to worry about. We don't want this messed up world to crash your baby's lullaby. Can I move around a little with this? I can move around? I mean, I can't move around much. Can I shift this? There's nobody behind me. I'm talking to myself. That's what happens. I'm like, you can't take my land. It's gone. There's like 6 elements there. I was like, you're fucking racist. Okay. So the next piece I'm going to do is actually not in my book. Oh, look, a lovely book. It's called Before the Next Bomb Drops, Rising Up from Brooklyn and Palestine. My mom says it's the coolest thing to come out since One Direction. My mom has no idea who One Direction is, but she loves me a lot. Okay, so the next piece I'm going to do, I couldn't put in the book. So in the book, when you publish a book, you have readers. And so the readers of the book said, you can't put this in the book because you sound like a condescending prick. And it sounds like you're shouting at your readers. And I was like, that's awkward. Well, I still want to perform it. So this next piece is called Dear Twitter Revolutionary, # you are not that badass. I hope you can relate. Now this is not about awesome critical, no, not, what, I didn't hear that. This is not about awesome radical critical conversations that happen online. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I'm not on Snapchat, I'm 34, I feel like I'm too old for that, but you get the point. So this is for like the Twitter revolutionary, like living in their parents' basement. Now I'm not against living in your parents' basement, so I apologize if you do. But, and this is not to say that a revolution can't happen from a basement, but what I am saying is that revolution is not happening from this person's basement. Now there's a 98% chance this poem isn't about you, and if it is, you probably won't know, because people like you never know. So I hope you enjoy the poem. Oh, if I point at you mid-poem, don't think of it as like, Remi's pointing at me. Think of it as like little nuggets of love. I already picked on you once. I'm going to go for number 2. Is that okay? This is not helping on the book sales. You are not that badass. You are not so cool because you regurgitate Frantz Fanon behind a computer screen. You read the same 2 books everyone else did. It is noticeable. Stop it. You are not above the petty bullshit. If you are tweeting, I am above the petty bullshit. If you were, you'd probably stop Twitter policing everyone and start working on non-petty bullshit. If you say things like, I don't tweet for followers, you probably tweet for followers. It's noticeable. Stop it. You are not an expert on everything. I get that you vacation for 2 weeks in Egypt, love falafel, and have your very own Huffington Post blog account with like 7 million other people. But I swear, that is not expertise or due diligence. If you can't point to the country you are tweeting about on the map, you should probably shut the fuck up. Not everything is Iraq. Not everything is Palestine. The only thing that is Nazi Germany is Nazi Germany. Stop with the comparisons, white guy shouting at a demo. You are being unhelpful. And if you think I'm an asshole by the end of this poem, well, it's probably true, because this is technically a I'm above the petty bullshit poem. But seriously, I am. Critiquing shouldn't become the goal. A game, a life like Candy Crush and Angry Birds, and other games I'm not cool enough to know about. Twitter has never been and will never be the revolution. Yes, I tweeted a few times about Miley Cyrus twerking, or her lack of twerking, or her awkward racism, or why so few people initially focused on how creepy Robin Thicke is. See, there, I'm not above it, but at some point, we have to recognize our rubbernecking is slowing down traffic. Movements move. Activists extend beyond the 140 characters. We're not the main characters. Many of us are in the belly of the beast challenging empire with privilege. So stop wearing your intellectual sunglasses at night. No one got that. Corey Hart, 1980s, I wear my sunglasses at night. Cause you are British, you don't get the reference. Okay, so stop. Stop wearing your intellectual sunglasses at night and build beyond the next soundbite. Appreciate that what we say and do and how we say and do it matters. The best critic isn't always the one wagging the finger the hardest. Yoda was chill. You should try to be more like him. I'm gonna end this poem now. You should totally follow me on Twitter. Okay, that was like to warm me up before we get ridiculously intense. Great. The next poem that I'm going to do, I'll bookmark this in my mind. How many people here know about BDS? Okay, cool, we're going to end BDS heavy. Nice, we like that. The next piece that I'm going to do is called Until It Isn't. And similarly, so for anybody that doesn't know, in 2004, over 51 days, Israel massacred 2,300 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. It injured more than 10,000 people. It shelled hospitals, schools, mosques, UN shelters, devastating the lives of 1.8 million people trapped in an open-air prison without anywhere to go. And I think it's important, just like the way that we talk about the Nakba is something that doesn't end. We don't want to put the massacre on Gaza in 2014 in a time capsule. It was preceded by the massacre on Gaza in 2012, in 2008, and 2009 when 1,400 people were killed, and even during the massacre on Lebanon in 2006, they were shelling the living hell out of Gaza. This is a population that is living under occupation, that is living under siege, that is living under military blockade. And even when we look at the current news today, have a lot of folks been hearing about the rising tensions within the West Bank and East Jerusalem. And when you look at the period of October to January, it's important to keep in mind that Israel controls the air, the border, the sea, the imports, the exports, the taxes, the tariffs, every facet of life, that occupation itself is a form of daily collective violence against an indigenous population. And so often the narrative begins when an Israeli is killed or injured, but we don't talk about the dozens of Palestinians that were executed beforehand, the hundreds that were imprisoned, the thousands that were injured, the land that was stripped away. And even within the state of Israel, where they call itself a democracy, we talk about apartheid from the river to the sea because there's more than 50 laws that systematically discriminate against Palestinians. The same logic that puts settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem is the same logic that is funding expansionist elements within the Nakab and the Galilee inside of Israel's undefined borders. So this poem is called Until It Isn't, and I want to thank everyone again for coming out, for acting, for doing something, and